Just a quick reminder, this is a conversation. No one is born knowing how to do the moves. We all have to learn. We learn pretty quickly, but we all have to learn, and a lot of it is simply mastering stuff, which means practice the moves. The cool thing is that everyone can become a master of this trade. But you have to practice the moves. You have to know what the basic moves, an inventory of basic moves. And that's the difference between accomplished writers and less experienced writers. Of course, their key premise is that these basic moves are so common they can be represented as templates. Extremely important to get this idea correct. It's not that big a deal. There's templates, all kinds of templates in the world. So instead of giving you just a bunch of ideas, what they call arcane ideas, this book offers model templates, to apply principles. This is an applied, not theory, not theoretical. Here's an example. Many Americans assume that, fill in the blank. Here's another one. On the one hand, we say this. On the other hand, we say that. These are ones that you already know, you've already used probably. Maybe you didn't realize you can use them in your own writing. I agree that. This is not to say that. They practice what they preach. Look, here's another one. It is true that, of course, critical thinking and writing go deeper into formulas. But these deeper habits cannot be put into practice unless you have a language for expressing them in clear, organized ways. Okay, here's the template. It is true that, but clear. First and most important, the single most important template, got it, is this one right here. They say, I say. And they call it a formula. They don't make any bones about it. And it says if there's one point, this is it. The importance of not only expressing your ideas, in other words, what I say, my ideas, but of representing the ideas of those ideas of others as a response. That's what they say. Now these guys are the master of repeating themselves, but saying it in a different way. So for us, the underlying structure of academic writing resides not just in stating our own ideas, I say, but in listening closely to others, what they say. And again, they repeat themselves. This is, broadly speaking, academic writing is argumentative writing. Believe that to argue well, you need to do more than assert your own position. You need to have an I say, but it doesn't need to stop there. You need to enter a conversation, might sound familiar, using what others say or might say. There it is again. They say, I say. The most important template in the book. And damned if they don't repeat themselves again. For this reason, one of the main pieces of advice in this book is to write the voices of others into your text. Unbelievable. They say it 3 times in 3 different ways. Here's another template. In our view, classic, then, the best academic writing has one underlying feature. It's deeply engaged in some way with other people's views. What other people say. Others, meaning they. Here's kind of a nice takedown of the 5-paragraph essay. A 5-paragraph essay is okay as it goes, but it's just too simple. And what they argue is that in the real world, there is much more of a conversation. And in a 5 paragraph theme, you don't have a conversation. You basically saying one side, and that's it. Now, this graphic in the book, which the author Gerald Graff drew, points out the whole idea behind this complexity. This character says the characters in The Soprano are very complex. And then these people say, yeah, so what, That'd be a classic 5 paragraph theme there. You'd start with that thesis, and then you'd say 3 things. And the most important thing is, why is he telling us this? This is a conversation that wants to get started. According to Graff, this second paragraph represents an improvement by the addition of this right here. Repeat after me. This is what they say. Some say it's the same as saying they say. They continue by saying, in fact, however, the characters in the series are very complex. And, of course, these people say, good point. You never thought of that. Because they're being engaged. This person recognizes that there is something that other people say, but that I disagree with it. I say that they're not characters, but they're very complex. And the authors talk about King's famous letter from Birmingham jail. And these are mostly responses to 8 clergymen talking about Civil War protests. And he's trying to argue with them, with others, against what they say with what he says. You'll notice in this passage right here, which is typical, you deplore the demonstrations taking place in Birmingham. Who is he engaging with? With the ministers. It's what they say. Your statement, okay? Again, they say that I'm sorry to say fails to express, okay, there's the I say part of it. So what Graff and Birkenstein discover is that King's letter is actually a formula. It could be rewritten this way like a dialogue in the play. King's critics, King's response, King's critics, King's response. Now that seems simplistic, but King's letter is one of the most important documents in 20th century politics. It's extremely well done, and probably because it is so straightforward a conversation between what they said, his critics said, and what King said. And it's obvious. They say here, King wouldn't have written the letter were it not for his critics. In other words, unless there was a reason to have a conversation, he wouldn't have written the letter. There always has to be a reason, a purpose that drives the conversation. They mention a similar they say, I say here. In this example from Catholic Pollitt. My daughter, who goes to Stuyvesant High School, only blocks from the former World Trade Center, thinks we should fly the American flag out of our window. Okay, there's the they say. What she says. Definitely not, I say. The flag stands for jingoism and vengeance and war. She tells me I'm wrong. Here's the they say. The flag means something altogether different, honoring the dead and saying no to terrorism. In a way, we're both right. Very powerful way. Very template here between what her daughter says and what she says, what her daughter says, and then kind of a mixture of the two there. It is a conversation. They are conversing about something important, something that was written for a reason. What's really cool is that the Pollitt's example shows that they need not be a famous author. So they say can be just a family member, can be anybody, just a plain dude. But it can be a group, someone you side with or side against. Important thing is that, as they say, the they, or the you or the she, represents some wider group with which the readers might identify. And Pollitt does that here. The wider group is people who believe that it's patriotic to fly the flag. Sometimes the they say is hidden. It's, as he says, implied or unnamed. Mrs. Graff, who wrote this, I like to think I have a certain advantage as a teacher of literature because when I was growing up, I disliked and feared books. So here's the deal. What is the they say there? It sounds like an I say to me. Well, it's the assumption, what they say, what? That one must have grown up liking and enjoying books in order to be a good literature teacher. Okay. Finally, Graff and Birkenstein say something that you probably don't have a problem agreeing with, is that it's okay to stir up controversy. Because typically in the past, you've been encouraged to keep the I out of it. Well, we're not going to do that here. We're not going to play it safe. Avoid controversy. Because that is, as they say, a recipe for flat, lifeless writing. It doesn't answer these two important questions. So what? And who cares? Take this statement. William Shakespeare wrote many famous plays and sonnets. That's a no-duh moment, isn't it? But nobody's likely to disagree with it. Nobody cares. And really, as they say, it would be pointless to argue it because it's not really an argument. It's not really not a conversation. And a lot of times you'll find this in extremely controversial issues like abortion. I've had many students write about abortion, and they're writing about it from their own point of view and from others, but really it's not a conversation. They don't expect it to be a conversation. So what they're saying, I agree with wholeheartedly. Okay, this is the first half of the introduction. I expect you to read the second half just as closely. If I have time, I'll read through it again, and maybe I'll send the screencast to you, but you got to do some work here. I'm not going to carry the whole load. I'll meet you halfway. All right? All right, good luck. Tomorrow we're going to have the quiz, and we'll talk some more about iSearch, and you should have gotten an email from me this morning about this. I'll send this screencast to you ASAP, and good luck.